If you're not right here at the very top of the food chain, you're probably not going to have a real stud pitcher. So you better find yourself 3 or 4 pretty darn good ones that complement each other.
Whether you live northeast, west, or south, the best fast pitch info comes from the coach's mouth. Welcome to the From the Coach's Mouth podcast with your hosts, Jay Bolden and Ken Kraus.
Hey, we're back. Everybody, we're glad to be back here at the From the Coach's Mouth podcast. This is our first time after the holidays, so we're really delighted to be here. This is Ken, and of course, I'm here with Jay. Jay, how you doing?
Doing good, Ken. Happy 2026 to you. Absolutely looking forward to this new year. How about yourself? Did you have a great holiday?
Yeah, I did. Other than I got, well, let's put it this way. My wife's family, the adults on that side, we normally don't exchange gifts. But this year, my sister-in-law decided to get me the flu for Christmas. So
it's the gift that keeps on giving the whole year through, Ken.
Yeah. Well, it's been given. So, so I was pretty wiped out starting Christmas Eve, late at night, Christmas Eve, then Christmas Day, the day after that. I actually ended up canceling lessons on Friday and Sunday, just because I just couldn't make it. Finally got back and did some lessons yesterday. So, it's getting better again.
Yeah, so right after the holiday, you know how we had all that wonderful rain and then turned into like freezing cold?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Santa brought me a late gift and then my sump pump went out down in the basement. So,
oh no.
That was a fun day after that. But luckily, my daughter caught it early. We went down there, got the sump pump changed out, started cleaning up real good. We caught it in probably about the right time. And we had water down there. It was splashing around, but so that was a little bit of my holiday vacation. But we plowed through it as a family. Had the girls down there, shot back in the water up and stuff like that. So the family, the girls and the wife, we all busted it out. My dad helped out, and we got it all cleaned up and good to go. So
that's good. That's great that you were able to get the family out there, especially right there after the holidays. So.
Yep. So we got it all cleaned up and things are back to normal. So, but definitely excited for this 2026 year, man. How about you?
Yeah, I am. I saw a statistic. I just heard it on the radio, and then I checked it out. Did you know that according to Riverside, which is the platform we use, only 8% of podcasts make it past episode 10?
Really? I did not know that.
Yep. We are on episode 42 here.
Full year of episodes. You believe that? Who knew that people would want to talk to us two goofy dudes?
I'm always surprised.
I'm telling you, Ken, if we would have made this video, nobody would have absolutely listened to it or watched it.
Yes, that's for those of you who aren't aware, that's a little bit of a shot that's going to lead into our guest today, because he keeps thinking that people want to see our ugly mugs, because he likes to watch the podcasts, whereas Jay and I are more, I'll listen when I'm driving around. So anyway, today's guest has been on the podcast before. In fact, he was our very first guest, and the episode with him is still the most listened to episode a year later. That just goes to show how many people value not only his ideas and input, but also his friendly and easygoing manner. Beyond that, our guest is not only a mentor to Jay and I, but also a friend. When we were thinking about who to bring on to kick off the new year, there was really only one choice. He is to us what actor Bruce Campbell is to director Sam Raimi, a total good luck charm that assures success going forward. He has coached at every level, from travel ball to high school to junior college to Division I college, and is still a highly sought-after consultant for college teams, In addition to his direct coaching work with students, he has also established the premier pitching coach certification program in the world. Let's not keep him waiting any longer. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, we are referring to the amazing Rick Pauly. Rick, how you doing?
Well, I am great. I'm not sure I can live up to that introduction, though. Yeah. But, me, I always like a good joke, and I know you guys can take a little humor, right?
Sure.
Start off the new year. So
Yep.
You guys were making a comment about whether, we get the video and see our faces or not. And I'm actually looking at you two guys, and you know what? You guys, your faces are made for radio.
Yeah, they are.
Told you that.
Anyhow, sorry about that. That's my first jab of the year. Sorry.
That's all right.
We'll take
well,
it.
It was well worth it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we agree. No, so it's Rick. It's great to have you back again. We're excited. It's been a year since we started doing the podcast. So, we'll be interested to see what's happened with you in the last year and share some of the new things that you've been thinking about and discovering, and some of where you're going with your career and all of those things that we think are going to be interested in.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Looking back on your 42 podcasts, you have had some really interesting people on there. Really enlightened, I think, a lot of people, your audience. You just had one from an old friend of mine, Roman 4, who, unbelievable person and coach. When you get people like that on, people instantly recognize how invested in the softball world they are and how good they are. So keep it up. Do another 42 this next year, okay?
All right. We'll shoot for that.
Yeah.
So before we get into it, how were your holidays? Were you able to take some time off, spend time with family?
Actually, I did. I took 3 days off.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like a small minor miracle, Christmas miracle. Sarah came into town. Sarah flew in, and so we enjoyed Christmas with her. It's kind of funny because Polygirl Fast Pitch financed her flight in.
Uh-huh.
So to keep things legal, I made sure she had to do at least 1 or 2 lessons. So I've got a couple little bitty girls. I say they're little bitty. They're 12 or 13 now, but every year they get a Christmas lesson with Sarah when she comes back. So
that's great.
It's enjoyable. Yeah.
That's something to look forward to as a little, anybody who gets a chance to get a lesson with Sarah would be, it's absolutely worth it. So,
yeah, I enjoy just sitting back and listening and watching. When she does the lesson, I try not to interject, which is, for me, is hard.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But I guess I'm amazed what a good instructor she is.
She had a good role model to follow.
And she's so good with the kids. Oh my goodness. Yeah. The kids just, first, you say they look up to her. Well, they do, because, she's 6'3" or 4 or whatever.
Right.
But
I imagine most of the littles, they look like an elf on the shelf compared to her.
They do. They do. When we do the closing, they want to do a photo op with Sarah, or sometimes even with me, but Sarah will be on this side, I'm on this side, and the kid's in the middle. We put the kid on top of one of our plyometric boxes, so her head's up near us.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
What you guys should do is do one of those pictures just as a joke where the two of you are standing side by side and you just have the very top of the kid's head in there.
Yeah.
So here's your picture with Rick and Sarah.
Lots of potential here.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, Rick, I want to get into some of the questions. I think a lot of people know that you had a chance to speak at the NFCA convention. But, putting modesty aside, how do you feel it went? And did you feel the audience was receptive to the information that you were putting out there?
Yeah, well, it's an honor to speak at the convention. They had the largest attendance they've ever had this year. It was over 2,000 people. While my presentation was going on, there were 2 others at the same time. So the crowd gets split between whatever, their interest happens to be. But, when I'm looking out into the crowd and we're in the big presentation room, I think there's probably 800 or 900 people out there.
Wow.
I felt good about, my part of the presentation. I think it was well received. And I say that because when the presentation was done and it was all over, you try to walk off the stage. Well, before I got off the stage, I had like 5 or 6 people lined up just, asking questions and things like that. one thing that I would say, and I've heard this criticism or critique of lots of the presentations at the NFCA convention, is that the speakers don't get very deep into what they're trying to tell you. And sometimes I think that's by design. Me, I would prefer to get in deeper, but the time is really restricted. We had 55 minutes total. We have a moderator. Morgan Rhodesmith, the pitching coach at Tennessee, was a moderator, and then it was Asaya Rivera and myself. So, and we have like 6 prepared questions that I get to speak on it, and then Asaya does, and then Asaya speaks, and then I do,
Right.
But when you split that up, there's just not a lot of time to get in too deep on any particular subject. Okay. But overall, I think it was great. It was a great experience. I hope I can do some more, maybe some of those regional NFCA classes that they do where maybe there's more time to get in deeper and maybe get into things that are more technical, some of the things that scare the bejesus out of a lot of the coaches. So we may talk about those later. But yeah, overall, pretty good. Good convention. So I always, I don't want to forget to do this, give a shout out, Carol Brueggemann, the head of NFCA, the president. Great job putting that together. Huge job.
Yeah. And
Joanna Lane, who's the director of education for NFCA. Man, those two work their butts off. They do a great job. I tell you, during that convention, it's got to feel like they're herding cats all day long.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And we're
great
proud
job.
to say we're proud to say that they were both guests on the From the Coach's Mouth podcast.
Yeah, definitely good people.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I'd love to see you, Rick. I've been to Ken and I have been to a lot of those NFCA coaches clinics, right? And you go there, and I think probably the most in-depth person I saw about pitching, and I saw, Mike White spoke, was Rachel Lawson from Kentucky, really talking about, foot strike and deceleration. And I still use a term that she even talked about. I was like, you have to train your decelerators, right? Like you have to train deceleration. And I think that was probably the most in-depth I've ever seen somebody get with pitching at some of those things. I would love for you to be up there because I feel like you would just you would dig into some of those things about deceleration and about peak arm speed and shoulder hip separation with 4D motion. Like I feel those things are absolutely valuable that for people. When I was there going for the pitching thing, some of those I left, I was like, okay, yeah, like everybody knows those things. Let's get in more depth with it. So I think I'd love to see you at one of those, like either Chicago convention or the Louisville one or someone out, out there by you. I think you'd be great for that. So hopefully NFCA asks you to do that.
Yeah, I would love to do that. And I've got a couple things in mind that I'm going to actually throw at Joanna and see if she bites off on them. But you mentioned Rachel Lawson, one of my favorite coaches, and her and I talk, relatively often. And a big treat. We talk pitching, and it's fun.
So, what was the basic topic of your the panel that you were on?
Okay, well, the premise was, what are your tools or techniques that you use to make pitchers efficient or effective, or turn out, a stable of really high level pitchers? And I will tell you what I used, and I had a few slides up there. And my first slide was basically, a toolbox. And to me, is my approach. I think, we all of us people from our PCC group probably feel that way also. And I would say this, the first thing I talked about in my toolbox was our PCC group.
Really?
Yeah, and I talked about it. And of course, I had a small gathering of PCC people sitting down here in front, and holding up the applause sign and that kind of stuff. But,
how much you pay him to do that, Rick?
Yeah, a lot. Starbucks. Yeah. It was, I guess, interesting. I talked about, if I hit the biggies, of course, motor preferences. I talked about 4D motion a lot. I talked about how I use the pitch logic ball for all the spin metrics. I mentioned, Ken, you're familiar with this, the corrective exercise specialist program from National Academy of Sports Medicine. And I did mention, I said, take a look at me, folks. I'm a little bit old. I do have a few years of experience. And I have either in my head or actually on paper, one heck of a data bank of numbers and metrics because, I'm a data metric kind of geek. That was kind of my side of it. I felt good about it. I actually had one young gentleman come up after the presentation, and he said, "How do you go about forming one of those PCC groups?" And, I kind of gave him the formula. Somebody has to take the bull by the horn and run with it.
Yeah.
And organize it. And like you guys have that longevity of 42, sessions this year already, episodes. You got to make it routine. You got to make it regular. And you have to have people in there that want to not just listen, but also contribute.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about something real quick here, Rick, because we're talking about, the ability to share ideas and things amongst each other. Why do you think it is that college coaches don't want to share or communicate with pitching coaches? Right? Like, I feel like I've had a lot of, I'm not saying all of them don't, but in my experiences this year, I've had more communication with college pitching coaches when we're talking about working with their kids than I have prior, right? Like, I feel like sometimes they don't want to share. Like, I want to know what you're working on with kids that I've had that are going to your school so that I can help this kid be better. And I think that's the goal, is that we're all trying to help these kids. But when we're not communicating with things, right? Like, hey, I'm going to teach her to try her drop this way or instead of that way. Why do you think that there's that lack of communication between college coaches and pitching coaches?
Oh, I'm going to use one word. There's an awful lot of ego involved. Okay. And it could be on both parts. I probably have a little bit of that going on myself. Okay. We all think we're right. Okay. And we probably all think I hope I don't anymore, but like, my way is the right way. It is my way or the highway. So when you engage in a conversation with those people, sometimes it gets a little bit difficult, and you have to maybe be the biggest practitioner of wordsmithing in the world to not ruffle too many feathers, and you don't want to ruffle the feathers of a coach that might be coaching one of your kids, okay, or might be a future prospect for one of your kids to go to their school. I don't know. I feel the same thing that you're suggesting there, Jay. There's not enough sharing of information, I think, from the college coaches, this direction on pitching, on the in-depth stuff, like what you said, Rachel Lawson had talked about. What do you mean deceleration is how you throw fast? That sounds stupid. Well, it's not stupid, it's smart. Okay. This last fall, I did quite a few college assessments. I went out to different colleges and did assessments on their pitchers, and that was really interesting. I think just by doing that, I upped my game. I got to work with all high-level pitchers when you're out there. And, what you find out is not every high-level pitcher moves exactly within your little, range of metrics, efficient metrics, okay? Right. There are some outliers there that will just make your head scratch, and it makes you think and dig deeper and question, what is it that you think makes a kid pitch fast or have good location or speed, spin spot, the whole thing.
So let's talk about the state of fast pitch pitching in general. Do you think it's getting better in terms of understanding what makes for efficient and effective mechanics and performance, and certainly, for safety and health for the kids? Or is there still a lot of resistance to new information?
Oh, man, I'm sitting here and breathing deep because I spent time. I think I sent you guys each one today. I hit Instagram today, and when I did it, I'm saying, don't do it, Pauly. But there is a plethora of just pitiful, terrible, inefficient stuff that I see on Instagram. It is just unbelievable. And what really concerns me is it's young instructors putting this out. Well, those people are going to be around for a long time, and they just can't have possibly done their homework. They can't ever have looked at high-speed video of how an elite level pitcher really moves. Okay, they haven't been around high level. Here are drills that reinforce the movements that a pitcher should do. I have a really a big concern about that. I know, we could pick on the other side of that equation. There's still quite a few old school and probably a little older in age. There are still, well, this is the way we did it back in the day. I'm hoping we can get by that. I'll tell you one quick side note here. After my presentation, I was down working the 4D motion booth, and a lady comes up and she says, "Hey, Rick, could I ask you some questions about your presentation? I was in it. It was really good, by the way." I had to put that in there, didn't I?
More Starbucks.
Okay, yeah. Now, I'm going to tell you what. I'm not going to tell you the name, but this is a high-level veteran in the Hall of Fame coach. And she says, "Rick, you know what? These metric things really scare me. These things like your 4D motion or your pitch logic mix, they really scare me. I've always been kind of, I kind of go by feel and what I see, and I just think I'm really missing things here." And so I tried to be as good as I could be and showed her, here's, yes, this can be scary. All this technology can be scary. All these metrics and graphs can scare the bejesus out of you. But you can kind of stick your toe in the water and work your way into it and start removing some of those barriers of fear. And I highly would encourage you to do that. And I says, you know what, anytime you want to jump on a Zoom session, I'll step you through the basics of what is all this motion sensing stuff, or, what does all this stuff mean when you get a reading on a pitch logic ball. And I do that you would think it would be a lot of old mom and dad that don't know anything about pitching. I do it for a lot of college coaches, and I'm happy to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny with that too, because like the pitch logic ball, getting those numbers there, as I've been using it with the kids, and, at first they're a little surprised to find out, oh, gee, my spin isn't what I thought it was. Pitch has been effective for them, but it's not as good as it could be. But once they see it and they work with it a little bit, and they'll be like, okay, and I'll be calling out the numbers for them, and, they work on it, they actually get better because that feedback helps them to understand something that just saying lift your wrist a little bit more for your curveball, it doesn't necessarily translate to them. But when they see what the spin is like and say, that's because your hand is like this, and if you put it this way, that'll change that spin axis on here, or, we need to do a little bit more of this, we need to get it going that way. When they see that, it has really been helping them. And I think that that's the thing for coaches. They can't be afraid to find out that things aren't what they thought they were.
One of the things that was the ending of my presentation at NFC was a question, what if you could just throw one thing out to the crowd that would make a difference in how they would instruct? Okay. My reaction or my response was, help your pitcher become her own coach.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I do a lot of things I call self-correction, and what you just described, Ken, I just was doing it last night at my lessons with pitch logic. The girl would throw a pitch, and let's say we were working on our rise ball, and it turned out the metrics weren't so good. And I'll say, come on back here, let's look at this. And I'll point like at the efficiency number, and I'll say, okay, you tell me what caused that efficiency to be low and what's your correction. And if I've had a kid for any period of the time, they can wrap it off right now. And now this will ruffle some feathers when I say this. When my kids go off to college, I want them to be better pitching instructors than the pitching coach they're inheriting at the college. And I believe that many of my kids are on par, above par, just based on some of the feedback I get when my kids come back at Christmas time, like they all are right now. I'm pleased when I hear some really good stuff coming, feedback from college coaches, but I'm kind of shocked by some things. So that's part of the ego, and, some of us know everything, right? But interesting. Make a kid be her own coach. When I do that kind of stuff, I look at her and said, hey, am I going to be able to stand right here in the middle of a game and tell you this stuff? You better figure it out. You better read what the ball is telling you, the ball will tell you a big story, and then you look at the metrics, and now you understand the story.
I say that, I think yesterday, the ball's going to give you feedback every time it comes out of your hand. Mm-hmm. Whether you have a Pitch Logic ball on it or not. I mean, I love Pitch Logic as well too, but the ball's going to tell you things, even mechanically, about what you're doing every time you throw it. So paying attention to what your ball is doing, how it's moving. I had a kid come back, college kid, Rick, and wants to change her drop action into that, turn the hand over, bring the shoulder forward, get on the front leg, and the ball's just moving straight downward on an angle. There's no break in that ball. And so I'm trying to work her through that and say, let's take some video here and actually see what your hand is doing so that you can go back and have a conversation with your coach, because it's not doing that. And then those mechanics are going to bleed into everything else. And I'm trying to show her, like, sure, your ball is moving down on an angle, but there is no break in that ball. And so every time you throw this ball, we need to see where the break is happening on this pitch. And now she's like, oh, I get it. So I'm like, every time you throw a ball, you're going to get feedback. Was there a break on that ball, or did you just throw it downward on an angle? Mm-hmm. Right. And I think a lot of what you're saying is, I want them to be able to self-correct. It's my biggest thing for them.
Yes.
Because I don't want your dad yelling from the outfield, right, or behind home plate. And I want you to be able to say, okay, that's off, and I felt that. So a lot of it is, what did you feel on that? What did you see the ball do, right? Those are important things that you're talking about. I think you have to do that in lessons. And I think we want all of our kids to be to not only be self-correct, but also self-advocacy. I told my kid, you need to have a conversation with your pitching coach about this, right? And you need to do it in a manner that you can get her to buy in with you as well too. So we'll see what happens. And like I said, I'm hoping that I get a phone call from that pitching coach so that we can walk through that together for this kid. And so what you said is absolute gold. I do want to ask you a question too, though, that, and you can come back on that if you want. But what are some things this year that you've learned that's new that you've kind of implemented into your coaching style?
Well, I will say it's probably within the last year, and I'm in my infancy in this. I'm trying to get into what's called pulsing. Okay, Dr. Stuart McGill, I think he's not the inventor of it, but he's a big promoter of it. And when it's kind of like what McGill says, I believe.
Okay.
He's the top spine specialist in the world of sports. And he's probably the top guy on how do you support a spine. And of course, that's with your core. And he's big into this pulsing thing. And he uses Bruce Lee, the famous martial artist, and the Bruce Lee 1-inch punch. And that's all about pulsing. And I've had some really, successes implementing that with kids, both on the speed side, but maybe as much on the stability, which gives you location accuracy. When you get things to pulse. And I've said this for about 3 months now. I'm on the verge of putting out another course on pulsing. And I want to really do this one right. I want to kind of do McGill's service. I'm not that I really owe him anything, but because I bought a lot of his product already. He's deep into my wallet already. But
he owes you now.
Yeah, he owes me. Yeah. But I think it's really it's important. Jay, you mentioned Lawson and the deceleration. Well, pulsing is a big thing on stabilizing the body. It's a big thing on decelerating the body, whether it's hip, shoulders, upper arm, lower arm, stride leg, whatever. So that's it's high on my list. I think I'm really in the infancy on that thing now. I think I got deeper stuff. How do you tie pulsing into the nervous system is what's controlling it? How do you train pulsing or train the nervous system to react fast? And breathing is tied into it pretty deeply also.
Awesome.
Yeah, there it is in a nutshell. I got 8 million things. We all know our good buddy Linda Lynch, right?
Oh,
right. Oh yeah.
Yeah, well,
awesome. The legend. I call her the legend.
The legend. Anytime I get an email and it's coming from Linda, I'm saying, oh God, no, she's got something more for me to research. She's awesome. A research genius. Yeah. Okay. So Linda's keeping me busy. And the PCC group. I mean, we are throwing out new stuff in there every week. It's awesome. Yeah, I'm not going to live long enough to get a chance to dig deep into everything. I know it.
Yeah, I know. That's how I feel. It's funny because you mentioned Dr. McGill, and I just had one of my college pitchers in last night, and she was talking about, we started talking about something, and I was talking about doing squats with her, and she says, yeah, I don't work my legs much, my back, it gives me some issues and all that. And I said, let me send you the McGill Big 3. Just give her some core exercises to use. I've got them saved off in a little YouTube thing, and said, try doing these exercises and see how you feel. Yeah. And that was something you had turned me on to. It's amazing how much is out there that can be helpful if you just can come across it.
It is. I do a fair amount of virtual programs. Somebody will send videos of them pitching and doing some physical exercises or physical assessment movements and stuff, and we analyze it, putting together corrective programs. And the program can be a combination of pitching corrective drills and corrective exercise drills or programs. And so I'm getting deeper into that also. I spent Sunday evening 3 hours. I had one of my young students come over with her mom and dad because the mom is a personal trainer, okay, and this kid is fit, okay, and we did nothing but video her doing exercises like the McGill Big 3 kind of stuff. So I've got a whole iPad full of videos I gotta edit and get ready to be able to put into my strength and conditioning programs.
We know that one thing that you've explored in more depth has been motor preferences. Do you feel that they've had an impact on your teaching, and if so, why?
The answer is yes. And motor preferences can buy a lot of Starbucks on what I've spent on them also.
Yeah, me too.
I think it's had a pretty big impact on me. I know it has. I could tie in with that. We're kind of getting into the action types, which is motor preferences also. I use it a lot. Any brand new student that comes in, I'm first and foremost, the first thing I do is a motor preference assessment. Okay. And then the second thing I'm going to do is a 4D motion assessment. I try to tie a motor preference assessment into what I see on the 4D motion assessment, along with a pitch logic assessment. And that's my toolbox. I'm going to start right there. That's how I'm going to try to instruct this young lady in how she prefers to move. And I think we all know the first place we always use the motor preferences is in the drive mechanics. What's the preferred way for this kid to drive that theoretically is, using the muscle chains that fit her aerial or terrestrial profile or whatever. But the second part, I think, is landing. When a stride leg lands, there's some technique there that would vary depending on aerial, terrestrial, flexion leg, extension leg kind of stuff. So, yeah, the answer is, yeah, you use a lot. I'm going to say this, though. I think in the teachings, at least this is what I got, is there wasn't much of a love for pitching mechanics like 4D motion or exercise, corrective exercise. And I'm saying that by the motor preference people. And in my book, you absolutely cannot separate those. They are, they're one and the same. They support each other. And that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, and I think motor preferences is starting to come around on the corrective exercise thing. At first, I think that they were more of just this is how they move and you don't really need to fix anything. But, it's come down to more. They certainly have gotten a big thing about, flat feet. So if your feet turn in, you're on the you have flat arches or you're on the inside part of the feet. They certainly want to correct them. They've got the insoles for the aerials and terrestrials. So that's corrective. So if you're going to go to that length of correcting it, why not just try to fix it at the muscular level as well?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you too there, Rick. It's got to connect. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, let me throw this out too. I'm sorry to interrupt you there, Jay.
No, go ahead, man.
Sometimes when we get a thought, if I don't do it right away, it goes, bam.
We'd much rather hear your thoughts, buddy. So let's go.
Yeah. Well, Ken, I think we had talked about this. I know we did a Zoom together, and I posted it on core principles.
Mm-hmm.
Our little PCC group kind of got together, and we developed what we thought were core principles of pitching. And I still believe in those 100% firmly. And they're core principles, which is different than saying, oh, this is absolute. You got to be right here. Some of our core principles would be, elbow bend for arm whip. Another one would be your brush trigger. Another one would be internal rotation and pronation. Those things, those are core to what we do in pitching. Okay. There's all kinds of minute, fine things somewhere all over the place, but those are the core. There's 7 or 8 or 10 other ones that we've identified also, but those are a couple of the biggies. And I think I try never to lose sight of those.
Yeah.
Well, when I'm looking at some of these Instagram things, I'm thinking, oh my God, I got to send this person my core principle list.
There's one, Rick, I want to talk. I was working with a kid yesterday who's committed to a Division I school this year. Not one of mine, but I got her from somebody else that just came. And one of the top things I did with her yesterday was the Pauly pull together drill.
Yeah.
Because she's very over rotational, wants to yank everything around. And I'm like, we need to work on the pull together, right? And I think people don't understand what that is. And having her do that, the stability you're talking about when doing that drill, that kid, all of a sudden, accuracy, she's like, I've never had this before. I'm like, well, now we understand why. Like, this is what's going on here. And again, I think that, to me, that's one of my core principles, is that drill that you do even at those clinics. That the Pauly pull together drill is, to me, that's in the top 5 for me.
Yeah.
So
that's on the tradition list. Any clinic, Jay, we've done one up at your place. Ken, you've been with me in Fairmont, Minnesota, a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
That's Sarah and I. That's our signature. We do it every clinic. We do the pull together drill, and something I make a point. I'm got a microphone. I'm shouting out to the parents. You get your phone out right now and video this, because this is the best your kid will ever look when she's doing this drill.
Right.
Now, of course, we're doing it, first of all, without a ball.
Yeah.
So they're going to look pretty good. But it is mechanically, it's the best the kid will ever look. So thanks for the call out on that drill, because it's big time in my repertoire.
absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that for people that are interested in something like that, Rick's got his intermediate course, and that's one of the many drills that are in there. So if you're interested in getting deeper knowledge there, check out on Pauly Girl Fast Pitch. I think that's the URL. But
PaulyGirlFastPitch.com. Yep.
Right, and just go in there. Look up that course, and you'll find that there's tons and tons of good information, things that are actually practical and translatable into pitching. Which reminds me, I did want to bring up one thing when you keep talking about the Instagram drills, and I've been seeing a lot of this lately. There is so much start and stop and start and stop in one drill, and it drives me crazy, because the thing I'm always working on with kids is getting the energy to flow. Get it to come up from your toes to your fingertips. And, these things where kids are sitting down and then they jump up and then they stop and they freeze and then they make another move and they make another move after that. I just don't understand why anybody thinks that's going to work.
I wish you wouldn't have talked about that, Ken, because my gut's turning right now.
Wait a minute.
It's bringing back all those Instagram memories. Yeah.
I love the screwball drills where you're spinning it around a bucket or a Volkswagen or a chair, or, next thing you know, you're going to have like an M80 there. They're going to light it on fire. You got to spin it around the M80 before the ball's gone. I mean, it's just, some of it's just, it's like, I don't even go on Instagram. I have to blame you, Rick. You're the only reason I go on Instagram.
Sorry. I'm going to make a New Year's resolution. No more Instagram. How's that? My life
there you go.
Man, I won't ever have to go see a doctor again if I don't do Instagram.
And just think of all the extra time you'll have to research all the stuff Linda sends you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
She won't be recovering. Hey, I want to move on from the kind of the mechanics and the tool stuff to a little bit more of the philosophy of pitching and how it's being used right now. One thing that we're seeing a lot more college teams doing is moving from riding one stud pitcher every inning of every game throughout the season to more of a staff, and even a staff that has a wider toolbox of different abilities. So you don't have to have all kids that are throwing 65 plus. Some of these schools are looking for kids that are maybe throwing 58, but have incredible spin, and it's just a different look. Do you agree with that approach of kind of widening out the toolbox of kids? And if so, why? Or if not, why?
Yes, I do agree with that. Let me give somebody else a little bit of shout out on this. I didn't get a chance to attend it, but at the convention, one of the speakers, Riker Jason, spoke about developing a staff and how to use a staff. And the feedback I heard, it was a great presentation. Okay. So good for Riker. I would say it's sort of a force feeding. Maybe people are coming to the realization that how many Division I colleges are there in the country? 280 or I don't know how many there are. There's a bunch, right? Mm-hmm. There aren't 280 stud pitchers out there that can throw 5 out of 6 games. There just aren't. Okay. So you should come to that realization. And if you're not right here at the very top of the food chain, you're probably not going to have a real stud pitcher. So you better find yourself 3 or 4 pretty darn good ones that complement each other. The other side of that is, let's say you do have the stud pitcher and you want to win a national championship. You can't ride that horse to death. So you should develop a staff so you feel comfortable that you've got somebody that can pitch that midweek game. You don't have to have your stud down in a bullpen warming up thinking, oh, God, what's going to happen,
It's funny you say that, Rick. I don't mean to interrupt you, but what popped into my head when you were saying that is how Mike White handled the staff in the championship. He brought Mac Brown in. You guys remember that? Like he gave Gavon a rest. He brought Brown in, drop ball pitcher, right? Lasted a few innings, right? Gave Gavon that rest that she needed for then when she came into the next game the next day was just on fire. Where on the other side of that, just kind of ran out of gas and everybody had seen it for three days in a row. And I think that's huge. If Texas Tech, which they do now, have another arm that can come in and give her a break, now it's going to really be tough this year.
That changes the dynamics.
Yes.
Big deal.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, the single turning point in the College World Series last year was when that girl reached out and got a hit off of the intentional walk.
Yeah.
Okay. That gave Texas a win, and it forced that girl to have to pitch 3 days in a row. Mm-hmm. And she's as good as there is. But at some point in time, the body just says, enough. I can't do it.
Well, yeah. And again, at that level, too, like Jay was saying, they'd seen her, already seen her twice. And now they're going to see her for the 3rd day in a row. And at some point, you're going to be able to make some adjustments, and everybody's human.
Yeah, yeah. Well, back on the whole staff thing here, I think one of the new skills that head coach, pitching coach has to have is they have to take their evaluation of the opposing team, the opposing hitters, to another level. And you have to say, well, golly, my number 4 pitcher's got this great change of speed stuff going on, and we're coming to their lineup where their big swingers are. Mm-hmm. If we just throw gas at those girls, they're going to hit out of the park. So I'm going to put this girl in for she might only be in for 2 or 3 hitters, 1 inning, half an inning, but she's going to do her job to get them through that chunk of the lineup. Okay. Or sometimes it comes down to, you've seen it in Major League Baseball. Sometimes you bring a pitcher in for 1 hitter.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's matchups. With the analytics available nowadays, it's amazing what you can know about your opponent.
Yeah, it really is. And, and I think, we've seen that with baseball, and now we're starting to see it with fast pitch softball, where they're just, not afraid to go in there and use somebody just for a couple of hitters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and, I feel good for those girls that, used to be buried as the number 3, 4, 5 on the staff because they got like no innings. We're starting to see number 3, 4, and sometimes 5 play an actual role in the success of that team. It's got to be better for the kids. Got to be.
For sure.
Rick, I want to ask you a little bit about rest and recovery. So, I think one of the challenges for teams, especially as it gets later in the season, is giving their players enough rest and recovery time. So what are some things that coaches can do to find the balance between, needing that win today and not running their players down to where they're just, gassed the rest of the season?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of things that play into that. I think start way in the beginning, I think, is you've got your off-season strength and conditioning programs. They have to be really solid, and they have to be in place before you ever get to a season, because in season, you're going to have a different strength and conditioning program. That's probably number one right there. Then I think your pre-pitching warm-up, how you warm up your body, how you stretch, whatever you do to get the juices flowing before you ever pick up a ball. And then when you're done with, let's say it's your bullpen or let's say it's a game, what's your cool down recovery? Probably as important as your warm-up was. So you got to have that in place, okay? And then your training people at a university are so important, and the whole arm care, the whole things they can do with massaging or not deep grasping but grasping and things like that. And then on more than anything is rest. If you got a stud pitcher and she pitched 2 games or 3 or 2.5 on a weekend, she does not need to practice on Monday. She probably doesn't have to practice on Tuesday. On Wednesday, see if the arm still goes in a circle, good enough. Bam. You're ready to throw Friday. They got to have rest. And then, of course, this is the toughest one in the world for kids the age that we coach, and that is, how do you take time off from the grueling travel ball high school schedule? And if you're a parent, I hope you listen to this. You need to take the bull by the horn, and you need to make sure your kid shuts down. I'm in shutdown period right now, and I'm just coming out of it right now, as a matter of fact. But from Thanksgiving till Christmas, I encourage my kids, at least you got to take off 4 weeks.
And I think that's a great thing. I think sometimes, Rick, it's not the kid, it's the parents.
Yeah.
I'll tell people, listen, I got family in town. I can't do lessons for 2 weeks. And I'll get text messages. You doing lessons this week? Like, no, I'm not. Take time off. It's the holidays.
You're right. Oh. It is. It's probably more parent driven than anything else. That's why parents take note of what we just said. You got to let that kid's body heal up, for God's sakes. A little bit, you got to let the brain kind of heal up and maybe actually be a kid.
Yeah. And, get to the point where you miss it a little bit too, because you're going to be more enthused if it's something that you're jonesing to do as opposed to, one more day in the grind.
Yeah. If a kid takes off 4 weeks, I encourage them, still do your strength and conditioning program. Mm-hmm. Don't stop doing that. Yes. In 4 weeks, guess what? You will not have forgotten how to pitch. Are you going to throw your top speed the first day out? No. But it's going to come back, and you're probably going to surpass it. Anyhow, I get kind of passionate when I start talking about that. I probably was part of the guilt. I put this guilt trip on the people at the NFCA convention. Again, I think the question was something about if you were going to try to change anything in softball, what would it be? And I looked out at the crowd. I said, I'm looking out at all you people out there. You're part of the guilt problem. This whole chasing a college scholarship is killing kids. They are worn out and injured before they ever get to college, because when a kid becomes sometimes even 8th grade, but freshman, sophomore, junior years, it is nonstop 360. And it's all about chasing a scholarship. There's got to be a better model somewhere, This has to be.
Yes, for sure.
Rick, I want to ask you a question. I'm going to change gears just a little bit here because I know this is not on the list. Sorry, Ken. I got to ask him this.
Well, by all means.
I want you to give your thoughts and opinions about weighted plyo balls for a warm up, or just in general, however you want to do it. I need you to give your. I want people to hear your thoughts, your opinions, and why you feel that way about weighted plyos as a warm-up, say to a catcher, or just in general?
So in general, I'll make it short and sweet. I hate them. Okay, because when you say plyos, they're weighted. They're heavier than a regular ball. Okay. We all know what happens to, let's say you got a little 10-year-old, he's throwing from 35 feet, 11-inch ball. And now we say, oh, you're 12. You go to a 12-inch ball and go to 40 feet. They compromise their pitching mechanics dramatically because of that. Same thing happens when you put a heavy ball and you go over the shoulder. In other words, make an arm circle. With a heavy ball, your mechanics, your muscle firing patterns are going to change. And the weight of that ball, the centripetal force, your arm can't handle it. So what used to be a nice, beautiful bend in the elbow evaporates and goes away. I say this, I have never seen a documented softball study that said weighted ball programs increase speed. I've never seen it. When I say a documented, I should say controlled, which means there's a placebo group and a weighted ball group. And I would almost guarantee you the placebo group will probably increase speed more than the weighted ball group. Okay. I mean, I hate it. Do I use weighted plyo balls? I do. And I do it right here at release and just spin here. I never want to go over the top of the shoulder with an arm circle with a weighted ball. Oh man, you got me going here, Jay. Shame on you.
Now I want to throw something in there on that because I do use plyo balls, but not the heavy weighted ones. You know, I use the 4, 6, and 8 ounce balls, you know, as part of a program and kind of going back and forth, doing a pyramid with them. And wouldn't you agree that, you know, something like that is fine because you're not really stressing the shoulder, but I wouldn't go above, you know, so a typical ball is going to be 6.5 ounces, right? You know, regular softball. So, you know, going up to 8, I think would be okay. But, you know, most of the concentrations on 6 and 4. So that we get that arm speed going, and it just at a short distance, give them that chance to slam in there. How do you feel about that?
Not good.
Okay.
Anytime it's above 6.5 ounces, I don't feel good. Okay. I am a big proponent of you take your regular weight 6.5 ounce ball, and then I've got the 5 ounce ball, and I've got a 4 ounce, and I got a 3 ounce, and I will work lots of proprioception or location drills doing that kind of thing. Also, I like to once in a while take my light little light flight ball and have a kid do a walk-in light flight and make them feel good because, you know, the kid that maybe couldn't break 52 miles an hour all of a sudden throws a ball 63 and it's like, oh my God, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And the kid's thinking, oh my God, I could be good, you know? So I love the underweight factor just because things react quicker. That's more into the fast twitch kind of thinking. I've got, you know, 100 years ago, I got all the Markwart balls. You know, I've got the 8 ouncer, you know, and then of course I got a regular ball and I got the 5 and the 4 and the 3. And I'm not even sure where my 8 ounce ball is anymore. I hope it's gone somewhere. Sorry, Ken.
That's okay. All right. So we also know you love to track data, but you've also said data without understanding doesn't do very much to help drive improvement. So what should coaches be doing to take advantage of the data they're gathering or learn how to use it?
Well, I call it the secret sauce, really, is we're getting more and better measurement tools out into our sport. I'll pick on Pitch Logic because I love them, okay? It's one thing to get metrics, and you look at them and say, oh, God, man, I'm excited I got metrics, right? Now, it's another thing to say, is that a good or a bad metric? Is that in an efficient range or inefficient range? Well, once you know that, then you got to go another step and say, oh, my God, what caused that not to be good if it's not good? And then the secret sauce is, how do you correct it? Okay. Well, the data can tell you that. Like we were talking earlier, you know, Jay, we said, well, watch the flight of a ball. That's going to tell you a story. You watch a flight of a ball and you look at the metrics on a thing like a Pitch Logic, and man, you can connect all the dots. I'm the same way on, you know, with the 4D motion and those metrics. Those scare the bejesus out of people, you know, when you look at those graphs and things. And myself and a couple other guys are trying to simplify that and put out a program that's not so scary to a parent or a kid or maybe even a college coach. Okay. So we're trying to simplify it, make it more understandable, kind of use, let's say, the Cliff Notes version of some great big quadratic equation. But metrics, me personally, it's a little bit, I'm an engineer by trade or education or whatever. I couldn't instruct pitching without metrics. Couldn't do it. Or wouldn't, I'll put it this way. I probably could, but I wouldn't want to. I'd probably quit. Metrics tell you they're everything data. I mean, every kid of mine has a metric sheet that once in a while a college coach will call me, tell me about this kid. I say, I'll send you her metric sheet. And I know they get it and they think, oh, Jesus, what kind of an animal am I working with here? It's like, is that all this guy does is put numbers on a piece of paper?
Talking about this data stuff, I want to talk about the Pauly Girl fast pitch certification. How many certified coaches have come through your program now?
Man, I just did one last night. Just did the final Zoom certification with one. It's exactly 261.
Wow,
I know
that's
that
awesome.
because I just sent his little email out to him congratulating and all that kind of stuff. 261, and I will tell you, it's a really heavy population in the Midwest where you guys live. Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, North Carolina, Virginia, heavy population. I'm starting to get a fair number on the left coast out there. I got a few internationals, and it's a pretty good mix of male and female.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, it really is. And I would say if I thought, well, I've got this sweet spot of who does my programs, I'll use a number, I'll bet you 70% it's mom or dad who has a daughter who's about 9 or 10 or 11, maybe 12, and they're trying to help their own kid first. Okay? And then what happens is they start helping the other kids on the team. And then pretty soon now, people are seeing those kids really perform well at a tournament, and their phone starts ringing. And people from outside are calling and say, hey, could you do some lessons with my kid? It's kind of, you would call it a ground up organic kind of growth kind of thing. And I have this feeling is we really need to hit the youth first. So my program is really designed to train the trainer of those kids. That's how you reach the masses of kids. And, I guess I feel pretty good about it. I've met some unbelievably great people. You guys are part of that great people group.
Well,
some of the first ones.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Feel good about it. I don't, I've got a list this longer than I can reach of, well, I need to get this drill into course number such and such. I need to modify this because some of my thinking has changed, maybe because of motor preferences or what I learned with 4D. And I seem to run out of time to get everything done that I need to get done. But I don't have a lot of free time for an old guy, man. Yeah.
Yeah, it is amazing. But, with all the people you work with, all the kids you work with, the coaches you help out, yeah, I can see where that's, going to take up a good portion of your time. And I'm sure your wife likes to get a little of your time here and there, too.
Oh, I'm not sure about that. Of course she does. Yes.
All right. So, we've taken up a lot of your time here, Rick. I know you've got some things you have to do today, but I do have a couple more questions I think that we want to cover. And one of them is if you had one piece of advice for coaches looking to recruit players, what would it be?
Okay. When you're out recruiting, I'll look at Jay, college coach here. Okay. When you look at that kid pitch, if she fits what you think is the mold of what a good pitcher is, recruit her. If he does not fit that mold, do not recruit her. Here's why. At the age that you're looking at, from a recruiting standpoint, what you see is kind of what you're going to get. So if you're going to take Susie Q, whose mechanics are not good, got the ninja move, the whole everything not so good, and you think that you're going to get her into college and you're going to remodify her and mold her into what works, probably not going to happen.
Don't have the time.
No.
Yeah.
No. And you will be like me, it really frustrates me. And it's not a kid's fault, okay? But it frustrates me seeing how difficult it is for a kid to try to change major movement patterns.
Yep.
It's unbelievably is not easy, you know?
Yeah, and if that kid's being successful doing something that just doesn't fit your mold, let her go and be successful somewhere else, right?
Exactly.
Yes, Ken, exactly. Yep.
Yeah. When you get kids that come into your program, oh man, I'm going to get on a little bit of a soapbox here. I see an awful lot of kids coming fresh out of college, and all of a sudden they're a pitching coach at a really good D1 or maybe even a Power 5, Power 4, D1. And they are like 3 months out of college, and now they're instructing. And I don't think that formula has a chance of working, or it's going to be 6 or 7 years down the road before that person is really a good coach, whether it's hitting or fielding or pitching. I feel like you need to pay your dues.
Yeah.
You know, people like us right now we're paying our dues. Okay. Mm-hmm. Jay has paid his dues. He's a great college pitching coach. Okay. But had he jumped right into Division I coaching college, he probably would have been pitiful.
Terrible.
You know, because he was going to mold everybody to be the way he thought you ought to pitch, or maybe the way he pitched.
Oh, everybody would have been
taught how to pitch.
Everybody would have been doing wrist flicks and talking to their elbow.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know,
yeah.
I mean,
I think, you know, maybe I'm biased because I jumped into my college career. I was a junior college coach, right? I think it should be mandatory. Anybody that wants to coach at a higher level should be a junior college coach for 2 or 3 years at least. So you learn how to coach. You learn what a program is all about. Yeah. Right now, I mean, a kid comes out of college and they're slotted right here. Oh, you're my pitching coach. Well, that's the only thing you do the rest of your life. How boring is that?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
So anyhow, off my soapbox, but
you know, when we were talking to Prashan, he was talking about how they do it in the UK, and you have to get this licensing. You know, some of it's pretty basic and it's fairly easy to get, but you have to spend a certain amount of time. You know, that first license you get allows you to be an assistant coach following directions. And then you have to work on it and get, you know, your next licensing level if you want to be able to design practices. Otherwise, they don't even allow you to do it. It just makes so much more sense.
Yeah. It's like it used to be back in the day of trades, you know, like, you know, you had to be like a beginner plumber, and then you were a journeyman, then you were finally a master plumber, and that was not a 3-week course.
Right.
Yeah. It was about a 4 or 5 year course. Yeah. So go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that's everything you said there is super valid, and I think that's what you're seeing a lot in this sport is they're just, you know, there's, like you said, people aren't paying it, not so much they're paying their dues, or just because they were a good pitcher, they're gonna make a great pitching coach, and we know that's as far from reality as possible, right? Yeah. And so that's just a valid statement. I just wanted to say that again. That was huge.
Yeah, I think if they inherited a pitcher that moves exactly the same way they did, well, that's pretty easy. They're gonna look like the best pitching coach in the world. But when they inherit Susie Q over here, that kid will be in a portal next year because she's going to hate you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just one last question, I think, right, Ken? Are you good with that? Yeah. I don't want to keep Rick any longer. Thanks for your time today, Rick. We love spending time with you. This is fantastic. Thank you so much. But just one quick one here, and it's not even pitching related, but what's one thing about you that people would be surprised to learn? You do something. Can you play the trumpet, trombone, bang on a drum? You're a drummer, former rock band drummer.
Yeah,
are you a professional juggler?
Ken was a former rock star, right?
Yeah, yes, he was.
You know, I saw that when you sent me some questions in advance, and I thought, what the heck?
Get to know the player, right?
Well, yeah, you gotta know people. I think I like anything that has physical activity. Okay, if I'm sequestered like I am now because of the weather and can't get out and do my mountain bike riding or something, man, I'm less pleasant to be around than ever. You know, my wife begins to hate on me But I've got to have physical exercise somewhere in my daily routine somewhere. I don't know if it's, sends off those endomorphs or whatever, and it makes you feel good or whatever. So I'm a little bit on the competitive side. When I do my mountain biking, I use a thing called Strava, which measures every time you go out, how fast did you do on this section of the trail, And not only that, but it tells you who else was on the trail that day and how do you rank against them. So I'm comparing myself, and I'm thinking, oh God, another woman beat me, But yeah, I'm kind of competitive that way, but it's kind of intrinsic driven. It's not I'm not out there telling somebody I beat them. I'm looking at my little Strava and saying, "Well, man, Paul, you got to go out more than once every 2 weeks. These people are killing you." Yeah. So that's I don't know. There's probably other things. We should ask my wife maybe that question, right? Yeah. Well, but I want to say this. I enjoy chatting with you guys all the time, and we do. We've said this before. I've said it before. I think up in your part of the neck of the woods is a great place. If we can't do it through NFCA, maybe we put on our own little high-level coaching clinic for coaches, for parents, coaches, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yes, that would be great.
Count me in.
We got some real high-level people in our group. You guys and people that just we got some people that are just really, really good. Yeah.
Yeah, whole bunch of pitching nerds.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep. Yeah, love it. All right. Well, thanks, Rick. We really appreciate you coming on, helping us kick off the year again. Like I said, you're our good luck charm. So hopefully it'll continue into 2026. Yes,
I'm sure it will. And keep up the good work. Okay. Enjoy the podcast and don't hesitate to put them on that new Polygirl community.
Absolutely.
Yeah, please.
We will for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick.
Yep.
All right. That's it for us this week. Thanks to all of you for listening and the kind words you've been sharing with us. If you like what you're hearing, please remember to give us a like, leave a comment, and share this podcast on your social media channels. Make sure you never miss an episode by following us on your favorite podcast platform. And if you're so inclined, you can also leave us a great review on Apple Podcasts to help more people find us. On behalf of the From the Coach's Mouth podcast, have a great rest of your week and weekend and a great 2026.